Well, I eventually did leave the college to do music full time, which was one of the lowest points of my life. I'd say rock bottom for me. Well, almost. I basically had a few years of really hard times floating around and really indulging in drugs. And I eventually did sign to a small label, Doghouse Records, and I started to make this record. And my whole life had been about making a masterpiece of some sort. And I was like, this is going to be my masterpiece. And like, so I sat down to do this and since I was playing everything except for drums on the record, it was basically me and the producer of the record alone in his apartment for like what turned out to be 6 months to a year working on this record. And it was the most stressful time in my life ever. I was constantly telling myself, and we had a lofty concept record. It was like a concept record, so we were trying to make it like a musical and a record at the same time, and that was like almost impossible to do because we had not that much money, and we were stuck in this apartment, and I was still smoking tons and tons of weed, and eventually, like, I literally snapped during the process of making the record. I thought I was being filmed. I thought I was on The Truman Show, essentially. You know, I thought that my entire life had been staged for me, and that was my first manic break of bipolar. It was in Brooklyn, and I walked out onto the Brooklyn street, and I was like, this is a movie set. Everyone here has been placed to react to everything I do. And it explained why I felt so alienated my whole life. It explained to me at the time why my life felt like this endless test that I had never been able to pass. And that was my answer. You know, my mind, my bipolar freaked out, you know, mind was telling myself, the reason that you felt this way is because it's all been a movie the entire time.
And then what did you do?
I took a walk through Brooklyn, confronting people, and
like what? How?
I would just be like, basically playing. It's sort of a complex thing that was constantly evolving in my head because I was in this manic state. But I would, you know, let's say there's a guy selling, you know, pirated DVDs on the side of a street, I would just, you know, grab one from him and just be like, I know what you're doing. I know you're not really, you're paid to be here. And, you know, he'd be like, no, man, I'm selling pirated DVDs, and like hit me with the DVD. And it went on like that for like the whole day. I wandered around until, you know, I got beat up a little bit and ended up in a hospital. Eventually, you know, they called my parents because I told them, you know, I wanted to say goodbye to my parents because I thought I was being executed at the time for just being a bad person. It was, I think, one of the most frightening moments of my life. And I thought that these people, it was basically, I felt that I had been bred because of my background and because of how I have lived my life, that I've been bred to be an example of what a person should not be. And that I was now being executed for that, for becoming this, because I'd given up on myself and because I had become, and since the first album was all about that promiscuous period in my life and giving up on hope, you know, that writing that album was in essence the ultimate sort of terrible act, and that I was to be executed, that I'm like a potential Hitler for preaching this emptiness to kids, that's what I wanted to, you know, show all the kids who are listening to my music.